What is going on, everyone? DJ's here with a new instructional video that should help out Advanced Wars players at all levels with improving their gameplay. That's why I made this a separate video rather than part of the Reaching a Certain Number series, because I believe that these 6 simple tricks can apply to people of all levels, 1500s, 1200s, 800s. If you follow these 6 simple tricks, it should definitely pay dividends when playing competitive Advanced Wars. This mostly pertains to Advanced Wars by Web, but can also pertain to Advanced Wars Reboot Camp multiplayer as well. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into these tips. Tip number 1, and probably the most important, is understanding nuance. The bottom line is, if you struggle to understand nuance, you're going to struggle to understand Advanced Wars. I'm talking to you particularly baboon brain people out here that only see in black and white. For Advanced Wars and life in general, there are really no hard and fast rules that apply to everything. There are no absolutes. There's not, oh, recons are terrible on this map always. There are exceptions. Things are changed by map dependency. Things change according to the CO matchup. Things change if you're playing standard, fog, high funds, etc. Things change. There is no hard and fast rules. For example, in the past, I say build a medium tank against 3 tanks. Well, that depends. Is it on the strong side? Is it on the weak side? Is it standard? Is it fog? How early in the game is? How much income do you have? Could you build a neo tank? Could you build a bomber instead? So many different things. So you need to understand that these tips and tricks and all the other advice that I give and my other content creators give is not hard and fast. You need to understand when it's applicable, where it's applicable, and why it might not or might be applicable. So just keep that in mind, that nothing is hard and fast at Advanced Wars, and you need to understand that things change. And if you don't understand something, maybe you ask someone else, in what context would this make sense, rather than just assuming for everything. Tip number 2, understanding terrain advantages. Now, I believe most of you understand this on a superficial level. If you could attack something from a forest or a road, you would probably choose a forest because it offers more defense to your units and you'll take less damage back. However, I feel like as games go on, people seem to forget that if you're fighting from unadvantageous terrain, it'll really screw you over in the long term. For example, let's say you attack a recon on a city with a tank from a road. You damage the recon, but they move the recon off, they attack with a tank, and then from then on, you're reinforcing both sides, attacking with a tank on one side on a city versus a tank on a road on the other side. And in the long term, assuming all else is equal, the one with the superior terrain will win overall because they'll be taking less damage back. Now, let me give you a micro example of how to combat this. For me, I believe in the rule of 3. Have 3 units when you're interrupting an opponent's cap. A lot of times I see people use 1 unit or 2 units. I'm fine with 1 unit, maybe an infantry attacks another infantry to interrupt a cap. But if you have 2 units, let's say a recon and an infantry, you kill off the infantry on the city with the recon and the infantry, but then they plop a unit or a tank or something on top of the city and blast away your recon, blast away your infantry, and then you're back at square one. However, with the rule of 3, you have 2 units kill off the infantry on the city, and the 3rd unit goes on top. Maybe you attack with a tank and a recon, infantry caps. Maybe you attack with a recon, infantry, and the tank goes on top of the city. There's many different alternatives to do, but you want to take control of that city. You want something on top of that city. You don't want to have an infantry and a recon attacking from a road, leaving the city open after you kill the infantry, and then they bash you. You want to hold down that fortress. You take control of that terrain. So, you also shouldn't be randomly attacking an artillery on a city, in other examples. A lot of times people get over aggressive, they attack an artillery on a city because, oh, free hit with your tank, but then that starts a tank chain attack. Your tank that attacks from the road or a plane or whatever gets attacked by their tank that attacks from the city once they move the artillery back. In the long term, you should not be fighting these sorts of battles unless you have overwhelming firepower, you have an overwhelming advantage over your opponent. So keep in mind, terrain advantages do matter a lot in the long term. You shouldn't throw away terrain advantages just to interrupt 1 cap. Make sure that you take care of units and you maintain your unit count. Remember, unit count is more important than sheer income, so you shouldn't be sacking units just to stop a cap. Make sure you control the city, make sure you control the terrain. Tip number 3, don't be over aggressive with artillery. I see this all the time at all levels, particularly in fog. A lot of the time people see artillery on their opponent's end and they see red. They're like a bull, and they just charge in, they YOLO it as a way to punish the opponent for building an artillery. How dare they? But one thing to be cognizant of is even if you do reach the artillery, you break through the infantry wall, you reach the artillery, will you win the battle overall? Plenty of times I've seen fights when one player uses all their vehicles and all their tanks to break through the infantry wall, hit that artillery, only to realize, now in return, for the artillery hit, 4+ tanks swarm in and kill all your vehicles, and then you lose the battle that you wasted all your time clearing the infantry to hit one artillery. Personally, I only attack an artillery formation if I have 80% confidence I will win the entire battle, not just reach the artillery. And I'll usually avoid the fight if it requires several vehicles to break through an infantry portion of the wall. If you can break through the wall with just infantry, I'm more likely to attack because then I can have my vehicles to deal with everything else. But if you're expending a lot of vehicles in order to break through an infantry wall to reach an artillery, I'm less likely to attack. Also keep in mind, front shifting is a thing. If you see an artillery, you can just front shift to another part of the map. This is definitely an option because artillery suck at front shifting, since they only have 5 movement rather than 6 movement of a tank, and they can't move and shoot. So if you move to the other side of the map and exert pressure, it's going to take a lot of time for the artillery to be actually set up. Number 4, calculate reinforcement times and be content with your advantage. Don't force a fight that you don't need to take to get too greedy. Remember, unit count is more important than income, and sacking units to further an income lead is not worth it in the vast majority of situations. Be content with your lead and let your opponent come to you. Like I said, nuance, if you're facing Eagle or something, maybe things change. However, in most scenarios, make them take the initiative and punish them for overextending to try to get back into the game. Or you can attack them if you have intel, recons, etc. that tells you that you have an overwhelming advantage and or a certain spot to exploit, and then you can punish them for that. But in a lot of scenarios, I see people overextend, get too greedy, then the opponent has a shorter reinforcement time, they tech up, they build a medium tank, they build a neo tank, and then you're kind of out of luck, and then the game shifts over. I've come back from several games employing this, so trust me, it actually does work. Number 5, understand build orders and timings of different maps. Some maps you can follow up a day 3 recon with a day 5 tank, and others will force you to delay a tank until day 6 if you build a recon, which may ruin a plan for early pressure. Utilize the move planner to see how much funds you will get in advance by using the buttons on the right side and simulating how many captures you expect to get, how many units you can expect to make, and what order you make them in, and where your opponent's units will be at that same time, or where they plausibly could be at the same time. I highly recommend using the move planner to create different openings depending on the map. And if you're a little lazy like me, maybe you look at other people's replays and then you copy them. But a lot of situations you can often optimize their openings as well. So just keep in mind that you can use the move planner to plan ahead how much funds you'll have, where your units can be, where your opponent's units can be. Tip number 6, review your losses. Number 1 way to improve is to lose and understand why you lost. I highly recommend you review your losses by yourself. Try to figure out what went wrong. Then you ask skilled players, maybe 1300 plus, their opinions, and you compare the differences. But why did they see this and I didn't see this? Why did I assume this and they didn't see this? Do not immediately ask for people to help you out. Oh, what did I do wrong? Because it won't really get ingrained in your brain as much as you actually going through the mental process yourself of why did I build that? Why didn't it work? What can I change next time? So I highly recommend being honest with yourself, going through the replays that you lost, and then asking skilled players their opinion. You can go to Advanced Wars by Web Discord server, in the Global League section, or in just the general chat, and people will be very happy to help you out. But keep in mind, people are not obligated to respond or give advice. Just because they're a higher rank doesn't mean they're obligated to tell you what's wrong with your game. I get asked 500 times for help, and I don't have the time. So just understand that people are humans and don't have all the time in the world, but at the same time, be thankful for those people that do review your games and take that advice and really use it next time and don't just make the same mistakes over again. And that's it. Like I said, 6 quick, simple tricks to improve your Advanced Wars gameplay. These tricks, if you implement them correctly and understand the nuance, will definitely enhance your competitive gameplay. Now, if you have any further questions, please throw them in the YouTube comments section below. And I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys are entertained. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.